Hey folks, welcome back to the .gg podcast episode 2, hosted by optcg.gg. We're here with Kobe, Jeremy, and Patrick. I want to give a bit of an intro about who we are.
Oh yeah. Hi, I'm Jeremy. Some of you guys know me as Vandal on Twitter or whatever. This is the .gg podcast. We made this as a part of just like what we do with optcg.gg and our shop.optcg.gg. You guys might not know this, but we're just all One Piece fans. And while we were playing, we all got the joy of meeting each other and connecting with each other through One Piece and become like best of friends since then. And we just loved going to locals, seeing each other every week, and then playing and then talking about this game. And just the number of funny stories and things made us really want to create not just like playmats and deck boxes, but really just create like tools and things that really rejoice this community and all the great things this community means to us. Really, we just want to honor everything that One Piece is about, and all of you that make this community so great and make it so easy to laugh and smile and have fun when we're out at locals or when we meet you at tournaments or regionals, you know, win or lose, the dice roll or whatnot. We're just happy to get to know you guys and to spend time with you, which brings to why we're even doing this, which is we like that feeling so much that some of you at home who may not have that can just sit here with us and we go through the news and we just talk about One Piece and you can hear us just talking about dumb stuff, smart stuff, all the things in between, and have a good laugh. But yeah, that's episode 2 of .gg podcast. But you guys haven't met these guys yet fully, so Patrick, Kobe, want to introduce yourselves? Either order?
Yeah, I'll go. So yeah, my name's Patrick. I go by OPTCG Alto online. And yeah, I'm just a huge One Piece fan. I call myself a semi-competitive One Piece player, so I play the game pretty seriously, but not like too super seriously. And my favorite thing is actually going to locals and playing at locals and meeting people at locals. And my wife and I, we play together. We go to like tons of locals. And it's really like kind of the highlight of my day is getting to go and play with people, see our friends, and just have a lot of laughs and like a lot of good times.
Yeah.
And so I think, yeah, like with the podcast, we kind of want to just bring that space to everyone, right? We spend so much time just talking about this game and just like thinking about the game and debating things. And we thought like, why don't we just like share this and kind of open it up a little bit. And also like, you know, we want to know your thoughts. So like leave comments, chat with us, like engage. We really just want to, you know, expand the community and bring our love of the game to everyone.
Yeah, that's a funny one because like literally we were at my house and we were just like, I don't know what we were doing, what the plan was for that day, but we were just like, we just started playing and doing stuff and we were just talking about this game. And at a certain point I like looked, like I was like, we should be recording this. Like there's a lot of really interesting things I think we think about the game in terms of like how to play it and stuff, or just like that are fun and good to learn. And I was like, I think I looked over to Maya and it was like Maya was like watching us, like we were showing, and I was like, this could be a TV show. Anyway, but that's my own like thought there. But yeah, Kobe. Take it away.
I was going to say, Maya's right here, probably off camera frame. Yeah. You want to come say hi?
Just come say hi, because you're crawling behind the
camera. She's trying to avoid taking frame.
Awesome. My name is Kobe. I usually go by Kobe. It's convenient that it's a pretty simple name. Complete coincidence that it happens to be the same name as the character Kobe.
Did you not change your name to Kobe? I
saw some legal forms.
As far as I can remember, I think my mom just started calling me that. I never really played the TCGs before, you know, aside from like Yu-Gi-Oh! Or whatever every kid used to play without really knowing the rules. And at some point, like Jeremy and I knew that we both enjoyed One Piece, and he just invited me over to crack open some packs, and I was like, well, I like One Piece, why not? It turns out that the art was fantastic. The effects of the cards were very lore accurate. And I don't know how old like this audience is, but I've been following One Piece for more than half my life now, like on a weekly cadence. So I'm super, super into it. So seeing all those effects just like brought me a lot of joy, and turns out the game itself was also a ton of fun. So I played like super casually for about a year. I would keep asking Jeremy to like, oh, build me this deck or build me this other deck. which is like a ton of work for anyone who's like ever done that.
Zoro Sanji this week. I will Riju this week. And I'm like, okay, before locals, I'm like, this, these 2Ks.
And then we just got like a bunch of decks that needed to then be unsleeved, and it's a lot of work at the end.
Yeah, I remember the first day when you had to build your own deck one day, or you had to sleeve yourself. You were like, wow, sleeving a whole deck takes time. Yeah. And I was like, you think?
Yeah, and I wasn't even familiar with the concept of sleeving, let alone double sleeving. I'm just like, I'm so confused by all of this.
It's like 2 sleeves? Yeah. I never double sleeve before One Piece, only because when I played Magic, I did not care about it at all. And then when I was playing One Piece, and I was like, these cards are so pretty. And like, I'm gonna ruin them. And like, if ever you've seen me play, I like snap my cards on the table. Like, it's a really bad habit. Like, our friends like give me shit about it because I'm just like, you can see it like flex, and it's like, I don't need to do it. I don't know why, but I'm just like, no, it's gotta like have impact. It's gotta deal damage.
Oh yeah. That's part of the experience, right?
Yeah. Also, funny you say uncompetitive. You're like you at 17th. You were on the Eggman list, man.
that was wild. Oh my gosh. So I think like about a year in, I realized that I was spending too much money on the game, and I was like, this is not sustainable. And I was like, I should try to actually learn the game, so at least I can try to like break even whenever I pay for competitions and stuff. So
going infinite. That's what it's called, by the way. If you go to locals and like, let's say you win credit and it pays for entry again, it's called going infinite. It's from like a term from Magic, but it is a very good goal to achieve if what you like is just playing the game. So that's what we usually do. It's like, I don't care if I XO. I'm like, do I get to play again next week with these guys for free? Like, that's what matters.
Yeah, and I think to Kobe's point of like, trying to play competitively just because you want more cards, that's like totally me.
Yeah,
like, I think all of my winnings from like a top went into like just more cards. So people look at my collection, they're like, oh, you have such a big, I'm like, well, that's what I play for. I'm playing competitively because I just want more cards. And if I win, I can justify buying Altars.
Yeah.
It's kind of a nice like circle.
And Maya's a Sanji collector, right?
Yes.
So
Yes.
Every Sanji.
Yes, I'm still like, I have a savings account of just like money set aside for when the manga Sanji comes.
Oh yeah. For when manga Sanji comes out. When do you guys think it's coming out?
It's not coming, so actually the savings account isn't there.
so
OP14 manga Sanji.
This conversation is like so funny because Maya and Patrick like got married relatively recently, and we actually made our Sanji pudding mat, specifically commissioned it for the artist who wasn't taking commissions at the time. Is that correct?
Yeah. She doesn't do commissions for money. Like, you can approach her, but no, she like drawing for her is largely about like her own enjoyment of it and her own reason for it. But then we told the story of why we want to do it because we were going to surprise Patrick and Maya for their wedding because we knew that Whole Cake Island is like their favorite arc and like Sanji's like their like Maya's favorite character, and we wanted to really capture like just like that love of One Piece and that arc in that Sanji pudding mat. So we got it specifically, and then once we told her that, she was like, bet, say no more, like I'll do it. And it wasn't even about the money. It was like, no, the story. And she actually said her only stipulation was this, which is kind of funny, is that when we gave you the special signed versions, we had to take a video because she like, as an artist, like the most joy, like for some artists, the most joy that you have is when your art is seen, especially when you've been drawing with these people in mind. Because like we told her the story of you two, we showed them pictures, and she commented, oh, like this love they have looks like so beautiful in her, and so she was thinking about you guys the whole time she was drawing. So when we sent her the video, she told us like, this is worth more than any amount of money. Imagining of like the first marriage if that happens. Kanchi Draws, you can find her on Instagram and Twitter, and like for sure, like we can post like here, go follow her, these places.
Yeah, well, I mean, while we're on the topic, we're super into ethically sourced art is the term, the phrase that we're going under.
Yeah. Ethically sourced art. So we believe that for all of artists we work with, we let them kind of choose the way they're going to be paid. So that means like if they want to choose like a flat amount, like commission, which is normal, if they want royalties, if they want like fully royalties and whatnot, we let them decide that, because the whole point is different artists have different goals. Some artists actually want to be mangakas one day. They want to be comic artists. Some of them actually just draw because it's their part-time passion. Like they have full-time jobs and they actually draw because they love it. Knowing that everyone has a different thing they want, kind of like Astrada. Everyone has a different dream. So you're not going to treat everyone the same in that sense, or have the same kind of philosophy, if you know every person has a different dream they want to achieve. So with our artists, we always have that conversation of like, what are you trying to do? Like, you know, what do you want to do? And we never try to say like, hey, no, we don't think it's worth that much. We let them decide, and then we try to figure out how do we make that work? How do we, either through the way we pay them or the cadence or all that stuff, like we try to figure that stuff out. But and also that means like no AI, no stolen art. We do our due diligence checking to make sure like with reverse image search and stuff that like the artist is actually who they claim to be, and all the art does in fact belong to them. It's usually pretty easy because when you hop on a call with them and you look at their portfolio and all this stuff they make and how much they've made, you're like, yep, that's a real artist. It's like pretty easy to find out. But yeah, ethically sourced art. Not only do we care about that from an artist perspective, we also find that these artists being fans of One Piece, when they get brought into this process and we tell them, just draw, just draw the thing you love. You can pick like what you want. You can figure out how it's gonna look. We give them kind of sometimes some guides around what One Piece players like in playmats and whatnot. But when they feel that sense of freedom, that art really starts to become amazing. Because I think everyone can kind of resonate with when you have the freedom to kind of just express what you want. You just get this wonderful thing that comes out of it. You know, we just step out of the way. We're like, I'm not an artist. I'm not gonna tell you how to do this. Like, I don't know how to do this. Like, let me just get out of your way and give you everything you need so you can just go enjoy the thing you're making.
Yeah, well, I mean, we're going to talk about Anime North at the end because we were there. But I will say, like, just looking at the catalog of all the mats, it's like going to like an art gallery. Like, it's just, they're so beautiful. And today I was like, I'm organizing my collection, which is like, oh my gosh, it's a disaster. But I was organizing it and I'm looking and I've got like 10 of your play mats all in a stack. And I'm like, this is good, but I'm missing like 3 that I really want, that I want to use because they're all so beautiful and they go so well with like whatever deck I'm playing.
Yeah, you got to we want to match the deck. That's like,
So like I need to make sure, and even when we're like playing at home, I'm like making sure I have the right mat out, even for just mats, because it's just the aesthetics of it it's so great, and it's just they're so nice to look at.
Yeah, my OCD is like, I'm playing like Dofi on a Shanks mat. No, I'm wrong. I'm forfeiting. No, I'm not. I brought the wrong mat with me. Some people frame it actually. Someone posted, I think on Instagram, whoever it was, that you framed the playmats, which is honestly such an honor. Like the artist was actually so like flattered by that. Yeah. So.
If you're watching this, please send us a picture of it.
Yeah. Send it again so we can like show it in the video. But the frame playmats, like so much respect. But yeah, okay, that's our intro.
I was like, how do we get on this topic? And I was just like trying to rewind back, and it's like, oh yeah, it's because most married couples will probably set up a savings account to like buy a new home or their children's education. But no, let's wait for a future manga sanji. It'll happen. It'll happen one day.
Yeah. Well, that's one account. The other account's for like yellow alt arts to keep as
okay, there's multiple
max rarity.
Yeah. Max Gata.
Yeah.
We got multiple priorities that are all TCG.
Yeah. So, what's your manga savings account card? What card, if it gets a manga, you're just like, bet all money on the table?
Yeah. Can you imagine? Like, let's put that in the comments. What are you saving up for?
Which card are you saving up for?
College.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. So we got quite a few things to talk about. We're already like. Okay, I really hope you guys are enjoying just these long conversations because we're gonna bring all the personality.
Yeah.
First up, ST card reveals. So coming up in June 6th, we'll just hop right into it with Green Bonney.
Bonney, the middle child. I mean, the middle child color of Bandai. That's what our friend calls it. The most forgotten.
Yeah. And it remains forgotten.
No. There's hope. That's the thing about green players. There's always hope. There's always like.
Well, that's true because we were talking about this with Felix, who was our resident kind of Bonney main yesterday, and he has hope for the 10 cost. And if there's anyone I trust on that, it's Felix, and he just recently got, I think, came in 17th as well.
17th
on Smoker, but he's the expert on green. That if I want to know anything, I go to him. And he was talking about how we could see that the style of Bonney change a little bit. So you're moving away from just kind of like the whole game you're setting up for this kit, really. Like you're taking as much life as possible so you can counter out to save it. You're trying to find the blockers, you're trying to find the pieces, and we could see Bonney kind of start to shift a little bit. A little bit more stalling out in the late game with cards like that, maybe playing Dofi as well.
Yeah.
And so I think that's cool. And I think what's scary for me as somebody who played, BY Luffy, so Bonney's always just like, I just get scared when I hear the name. And now I'm playing GP Luffy, so still afraid of bonney. But what's most scary is like if bonney has options. So if they can become like Shanks, where you don't know whether you're playing control Shanks or rush Shanks or hybrid Shanks or animal Shanks or like weird rush Shanks now where they're playing all the rush characters. There's like 5 different Shanks builds and you don't know what you're up against. And if bonney can start to do that as well now too, where it's like, oh, are they going to drop a kid? Or are they going to just try and stall out with these new 10 drops? I mean, it really changes how you play the game. And I think with bonney, what's interesting is a lot of the core cards are staying the same. So you might not even know what late game package they're really playing, and they can kind of hide that information from you. So I think that's definitely a step in the right direction. And I do like, instead of scaling power upwards, just widening it. And so when I see the starter deck, that's kind of how I've been looking at it with bonney in mind specifically. It's just kind of like widening her card pool, widening the options available. And it looks relatively playable as outside of like, if you're a newer player and trying to grab the deck, it seems playable to me as well.
Yeah, I think Bonnie's one of those, like, if you guys remember before Sanji came out, Bonnie was basically the best pre-release leader. And I think it goes to, the way we talked about it is that Bonnie's power level is so much in her leader ability that even if you don't get the perfect plays on curve, even if you don't have the best cards in your deck, the fact that every turn you're using this incredibly powerful leader ability gives you a kind of baseline consistency, which is what makes Bonnie like a strong deck. That's what made Bonnie a strong leader in Sealed too. So yeah, it always has that baseline power. That flexibility really becomes this thing to now adjust, like, where do you want to be stronger, early game, mid game stuff, if you know you have this consistent power level. I think Felix, and you brought up a good point of or Felix did, about how like, oh, does the new law in Beppo now actually switch Bonnie to be more of like a 10-drop slamming like build, kind of like almost like Blackbeard. Like your win con is like, I'm gonna play multiple 10 drops, right? And we also seen Blackbeard have a win con where they try to focus mostly on Burgess, where the 10 drop is eventuality. But does now Bonnie have that same optionality where it's like, oh, my game plan is to kind of play this out and then just start slamming these 10 drops one after another, and that ends me the game. And as long as you have some way to restand the one Dawn, then it does that. Your point about that flexibility being scary is actually really interesting, because like, in case you guys don't know, like if you play against like a Bonnie that's running 8-cost Kid, you don't want to drop them to a low life total too early, because you're giving them so many additional cards to work with to counter out of swings going into the 8-cost Kid, that you sometimes actually have to like, pump the brake and be like, whoa. Maybe I should slow down, because if I give them too many cards, this 8-cost Kid is not going to be like killable. But then if you do that, you might actually walk right into a Dofi. Like into a 10-drop Dofi, just freezing your whole board, and you're like, like, which one do I play around? That's already a bit of a complex thing to think about when you play against Bonnie. That this is just adding another layer, especially because it's searchable. So unlike Dofi, it's like not even that weird to run, because you're like, well, I'm not going to roll over it accidentally. So I can, you could even choose like, I'll just run like 1 or 2 of them, and it's there, right? Any other thoughts about the deck? I want to talk a bit about like the 2Ks and stuff too.
Can we zoom in, because we've talked about Law and Beppo last week, as well as the X-Drake. But there's been a few new reveals since then, right? So we've got the new Capone.
Oh, the new Capone bege. Like, right before we started recording, I was talking about how like this is very similar kind of like vibes as the 3-cost 4K Bardo, if you guys know it. The 3-cost Bardo 4K blocker basically lets you cycle a card if you like rest, I think, one of yours or your opponent's, I think like, it's either yours or your opponent's characters. But Bonnie players liked it because it let you cycle, and Bonnie having a lot of bricks and needing to cycle out to natural draw certain cards. Like if you're a Bonnie that was running Smoker, like the 5-cost 7K Smoker, if you're running like Dofis or random cards that are unsearchable, you want that cycle to get rid of bricks, but also to find those unique bombs. This bege lets you do it. I mean, like it says, if you have 6 or more rested cards, draw a card on play and then trash a card from your hand. And it's 2-cost 1K blocker, so it's really easy to weave into your turn, especially if you have Cavendish. Like that 2 Dawn is free. It's letting you do what that Bardo does. Now, granted, only once per turn, but I think this card is really flexible, because Bonnies that wanted cycle but didn't want to fully commit to that Bardo now can have it in a lighter package, and then decide like, oh, what is this replacing? Like maybe this is replacing one of my 1-cost bege blockers. Maybe this is just replacing one of my killer blockers. Or maybe this replaces 1 or 2 of my Rosinantes, right? And just get that extra little push to like cycle. And searchability means you can run as many or as few of you as you want.
Yeah, no, I think it's going to work really well with, I think, the Rosinante blocker. I think you just replace other blockers that, like you mentioned, like it was the killer. That sometimes when you run the Barto, I think like this just seems on paper better to me. And I like how Bandai's done it here. They've done a good job of kind of, it's like if you have 6 or more rested cards, so it's not something you can play early to cycle. It's something that you kind of have to play a little bit later in the mid game. But it kind of does everything that bonney wants to do, and it is interesting because it is kind of more. It's more support for the kid build, right? I think than just than this more freeze build that we've been talking about. Though I can see it working with both. I can see just trying to establish this, right before your kid turn, the turn before your kid turn, let's say, and then the next turn you play kid with the rosy blocker, and you're feeling really, really good. You've got to cycle, and now you've got 2 blockers, and you can just, because you're restanding so much Dawn with Cavendish, it's really easy, like you said, just to weave this in on a turn when you just play like another carrot, freeze something, play the blocker, next turn into kid. So I think this is definitely a great card for bonney, and I think too sometimes what happens with these reveals is it's like the cards that aren't the most flashy can sometimes make the biggest difference.
Yeah. And
this is one of those cards that for me, I'm like, this could actually make a really big difference in the deck. And yeah, so sometimes it's not like that crazy 10 drop or the new SR. It's just these little pieces along the way that help with consistency that can push a deck that's already kind of A tier into a higher tier.
Yeah. Yeah, so this Basil Hawkins is a 2K. It's obviously supernova typing and Hawkins Pirates. I always forget the name of his pirate card. I think it's it is the Hawkins Pirates. I got that right. But yeah, end of your turn, set up to 1 Dawn card is active. So if you guys are familiar with like the 5-cost carrot 2K, it's like basically the exact same effect, but in a smaller package. So in a 4-cost 4K instead of a 5-cost 5K. And it's searchable. Yeah. So I think that's really great. Like you just basically have a secondary Uruj option. Yeah. The only thing that this doesn't do that carrot does is it's not playable off of 8-cost Resonante, which is like such a niche thing. But like that's an important differentiation. Like that's meaningful difference for why this is better in some ways and how it might be different in other ways for like people who might like running 8-cost Resonante. But yeah, like it's a good card. It's a 2K, so you're never mad.
No, and like bonney's just swimming in good 2Ks now. You've got the X-Drake as well. Like, man. All these great searchable 2Ks. I think that's a great thing for bonney players. They should be really excited about that. And then it'll be cool just to see what the ratios are that emerge, like of how many of each you run.
Yeah, and we've seen 2Ks like change the game drastically. Like Uso Hachi, that from the purple Luffy starter deck. I am in. But when I was playing BY Luffy, I was in fear of it constantly. Where I'm like, this 2K is like the best 2K in the game. Yeah. And it's so flexible and it's usable by everyone. Yeah. Sometimes the 2K can just create so much fear.
Yeah. So I think like leveling up the 2Ks for supernovas. Yeah. And of course, this is also support for green yellow law. Anything that you see here. Yeah. It's the supernova package is just still getting support. Yeah. Like how many sets later? It's kind of funny.
Yeah. This looks sick, by the way. Art-wise, I like love this.
Yeah.
Right, this is the other SR.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So on play, you search top 5, and on opponent's attack, you can trash it to restand a Dawn.
Yes.
So basically, you can choose to do this first and then activate bonney's effect right after that to rest any character.
Yeah.
Yep.
Because you can choose the sequence this happens in, which is good. Interesting. So on play, you can search for top 5 for supernova. So it's a searcher. So now bonney has 2 searchers, like 3 technically if you count. I want more pizza. Yeah. So you have the bonney 1-cost searcher that can rest to search, and then you have this that plays on play will search, and then you have more pizza that will search too, and this searcher can find itself. That is a really important note for green searchers, and one of the unique parts of green searchers. A lot of them are capable of searching for themselves. Yeah. This means that it's basically impossible to whiff, and like if you ever whiffed a searcher, you know that a searcher that can never whiff is a good thing. Yeah. Which what made bonney searcher so good too. This kid killer can find itself or bonney, which means that conceptually you can think of your deck as actually 42 cards.
Yes.
Because there are now 8 slots that they represent just any other card in the deck really, and not only that, any other card in the deck and 5 options to pick from. So it's a lot of consistency off this, and it activates leader ability, so it's really good for that reason too. Yep. And like it comes in standing, and if you guys know I love coping, you can be my samurai. So anytime you have a standing searcher, you can just rest it and draw 2 cards. But yeah, that is sick art-wise, and just like that card is really good flexibility, really good consistency.
Yeah, I mean I think bonney just has too much now. I don't even know what you put in. Like, I mean, like it's crazy. Like they've gotten just so many options, which I love for green players. And it's just like, this is so scary because it's like now they've got another, like those early turns where they go like bonney. It's just going to happen even more now where they're going to see more bonnies to play and rest. And I'm talking about the 1-cost searcher. And so now with Kid Killer, they're going to go bonney into Kid Killer into bonney. And it's scary. Like they're really going to be able to start finding their pieces, like even more, it was already a pretty consistent deck, but now that's just really upping the consistency. And then when you add in cards like the bege that help you cycle, those help you find things like Hody that might not be searchable. So what we're really seeing is it seems like Bandai really wants to make green and bonney specifically, I think, a very consistent deck that can find the pieces it needs. And I think that's a great thing for the deck. I think that it's kind of like, bonney seems to me to be like almost like the perfectly balanced deck across time. Like it's almost always been very, very, very balanced, and it's almost like a good target balance-wise for decks. So it's like if you're trying to figure out if a deck is like too weak or too strong, I think you can actually use bonney as like a really nice metric. It's like if it's up here compared to bonney, it's probably too strong. If it's down here, it's probably too weak, because bonney has always just been like a consistently good deck. That's very well-rounded. It's usually pretty mid-rangey with some late-game options. And so I think, just like continuing that is great. I'm super excited, and I kind of want to start throwing some lists together.
Yeah, I have this one thing I thought about, which is like if you know if Batsu, if you're watching, if you could ever track the stats of like how likely someone is to win based on the number of times they use their leader ability, actually. I've always thought that there's almost like a correlation between the number of times you use leader ability and how well your leader is doing. Bonney being able to consistently use that strong leader ability every single turn, all the time, I think is what gives it that really strong power level. Like you can almost figure out, like, if you're learning a new leader, you should try to think about that a little bit. Like how often you use leader ability is directly proportional to probably how well you're doing. Like if you're a BY Luffy that never uses leader ability, that would explain why you lost or whatnot, right? Like so that's an important metric. So bonney is probably strong for that reason of it's such an accessible leader ability that you can use it every turn.
Well, now with Kid Killer, like I still have to really think about it, because it's like having this down opens up new lines. Because you don't have to leave a Dawn up anymore. So you're going to be able to do things like put on more pressure. You're going to be able to swing 6 into 6k leaders more, because you're going to have that extra Dawn, because you can just trash this. And that's also really scary, because one of the things that makes bonney a little bit slower is that they usually are holding a Dawn back. And that is typically a Dawn that would just attach to leader to make that swing a little bit bigger. And so if you want to keep a high life total against bonney, you can typically do that. But now it's like if they open like Kid Killer, well, now they don't have to lead up a Dawn for 2 turns.
It's like they've paid for it an earlier turn. They've paid the one Dawn early.
Like, so that's going to really open things up for the deck, and it's going to make it scary, because now they can put more pressure on your life.
I'm going to try You Can Be My Samurai build with this, because I always will try that. But really great deck. I think if you're trying to get into the game and you want like this deck, I think it's gonna be really good. And I think also if you're playing at home, it'll be really good too, because a lot of this is playable out of the box. And I think defensive strategies like bonney will just teach you a lot about the game and be good for at-home play.
This is a great deck for newer people to pick up. I would always recommend, like, I think people should start with bonney or Shanks. These are, like, just in terms of decks, these are great decks to learn. And this deck especially is great because it's got just enough complexity with leader effect that you have to kind of think about things and start to like kind of ease your way into the complexities of One Piece. And there's a lot of very interesting effects, but also you have a very clear game plan. And so this is great starter.
And 10 2Ks, by the way, like for you guys who don't know, like in the past with starter decks, some decks only had like 4 2Ks. And if you were playing a starter deck battle, you were like, oh no, I'm dead. So this is actually a big deal to have this, like to have enough 2Ks that, for those who participate in starter deck battle, I'm pretty sure, we'll find out later, but I think every deck might have enough 2Ks to be decently playable.
And like you could show up with 2 copies of this, or even 1 copy of this really, but you'd probably want 2. You could show up to a locals and you're not going to lose every round.
No,
like this is a playable starter deck.
That is awesome insight, guys.
Go green!
Oh my gosh, I've had like such a long day and my throat is so dead. I think I'm gonna move into ASMR mode. Speaking.
Keep spamming those fisherman friends.
Just keeping an eye on time here, just more for curiosity to see how all this develops. I think we're basically at 30 minutes so far, and we're not going to change a thing about it this time. If you have any feedback, let us know afterwards, but we're just going to keep the energy going.
If you like us yapping, we'll keep doing it. Yap.gg. Is that, wait, I think we have to buy that domain now because we said it.
Maybe that's the podcast title. Okay, next up, let's take a look at the Shanks deck now. So what are the SRs we looked at last time? The new Shanks. Cool. Let's start with Uta. That's the other SR, right?
Yeah. If you have a character with 10,000 power or more, give this card in your hand -4 cost. It is blocker. It's a 6 cost 4K. That is a 2K counter. So once again, one of those like flex 2K counter slots. Okay, well, I just see you nodding your head. Okay, Patrick, you go first. You go first. Before.
No. I'm just saying, like, why is this film? This is not.
Yeah. Why is it film? So yeah, for those who don't know, like Shanks usually runs either the Nami searcher, which is for Straw Hats, or the Uta searcher that searches for red hair pirates, or even the mix of the two. This is searchable by neither.
Yeah.
So it is kind of funny that it's not really a Shanks card because you can't find this if you play Shanks. It's almost like they were making this deck as an RP Uta support deck.
Yeah.
And it just so happened that they were like, well, we'll make Shanks the leader. People want a Shanks alt-art leader.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is... I don't know if you could run this in Shanks without running a film package, and I don't think I've... if you're out there and you've done something crazy with a film Shanks playlist, like deck list,
yeah,
great. But like, yeah, this is not searchable, and it is still a difficult condition to fill. And even if you do, what you're getting is a 2-cost 4K blocker that would also be a 2K counter in hand. Now you can fulfill this condition with like things like the new SR Shanks, but it really feels like an incredibly flexible card, but not searchable. Like, yes, it's a great 2K and it's a blocker, but it's in the body of like a film card that you can't search for Shanks. So if anything, this feels more like a red film deck support card rather than something that's like uniquely made for Shanks.
Yeah, well, there's somebody at Bandai who loves Uta, clearly.
Yeah.
There's so much Uta stuff. And I'm guessing what happened is they pitched this as, oh, let's do another Uta starter deck. And they were like, wait a second, we've already done this twice, so maybe we can't. And so I think in the last second, they were like, okay, we'll make it Shanks. Yeah. But I think there's somebody at Bandai who really wanted this to be a red Uta starter deck.
Oh, that makes sense.
And so that's why we're seeing it this way. That's my theory.
Green Uta has 2 starter decks. Maybe there's someone at Bandai who's like, okay, can I make another one now? It's like, no. You got to make 2 Uta starter decks. We got to make things for other colors now.
Yeah.
I mean, no one's upset about the art. It's wonderful.
Oh, no, it's gorgeous.
Yeah.
Yeah. I do wonder if maybe they're like, let's provide Shanks the tools to make more of a film deck, because there is a film searcher Luffy.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if they've got everything to go all in on that. Because what is it? The 10-cost Shanks that KOs is also film, right?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. KO Shanks.
Options. It's always options.
That's a good point. Yeah, maybe there's a hybrid film Red Hair Pirates build is going to emerge.
Yeah, and
see it, but you never know.
Say what you will, at least the Luffy film searcher is really pretty to look at, like the alt-art one. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm so excited about this card. This new yasopp.
Oh.
So it's got activate main, give up to 1 rested dawn to your leader or one of your characters.
Yeah.
I'm really excited about this because actually I was thinking of running the 1-drop Nami that does the same effect in Shanks.
Interesting.
Because I just wanted to have more dawn to play with, to swing, to put pressure on.
Mm-hmm.
And like Shanks doesn't really have great early plays. Typically you're just playing searchers. And with decks like GP Luffy that go up to 6K, and even like RP Luffy is also a really bad matchup for Shanks.
Yep.
I was thinking like, wow, it might be really nice if I could just have that extra dawn, going back to like our red-green law days where when you were facing Whitebeard, you'd play that 1-drop Nami just to be able to consistently swing 6s. And so I was like, oh man, it would be fun to run this Nami. And I was actually thinking of testing it. And then, well, they released this, which is like a searchable Red Hair Pirates 1K that does the exact same thing. So I think it's really, really neat. And I think there's a place for like 2 copies of this, or maybe even 3 copies in Shanks lists. Because if Shanks can actually just start swinging 6 every turn, that's a lot of pressure.
Yeah, and like you said, like it's searchable. Like, we've seen ST Nami be good for different reasons. We've seen the Koala that does this effect also be good for different reasons too. Yeah. So I think this is just adding that extra flexibility. And to your point, like, some people haven't even been able to run Building Snake again in Shanks because like sometimes people just can't threaten it. Like sometimes you play it down and you're just like, oh, this is a deck that actually just can't address this. Yeah. And it's just there giving you value every turn. And that extra attach 1 Dawn is meaningful for like, if you're a person that runs like the I was about to call them big yasopp because this is little yasopp, big yasopp. But yeah, that extra Dawn attached to yasopp to help you like even do the reduction. There are a lot of different like random on attack like Dawn one effects that this helps you just activate. But yeah, I think it's a great flex card. And if anyone is like a coper for, what was it, the Merry Go, the 1-cost stage that lets you bot deck a 1K power card and draw one. Yep. Well, this is another target. You have 12 target. You have 12 targets now. I think 16 if you're a Merry Go coper.
Yeah. No, super exciting. And like I just think it tucks into great into turns. Like going first,
Yep.
we can play Lucky Roo in this. And then if they want to rest this as like, let's say GP Luffy, with the Zoro, like you can block with the Lucky Roo. Like there's just like, it's great. I really like it.
Yeah. Oh, this one I'm like, this to me, this is like they're filling space.
With trashing a card.
Yeah. Trash a card from hand if it's a 4 cost 5k, that will you trash a card from hand if on play. By the way, on play, so like, if your leader is red hair pirates, also, leader locked, then KO up to one of your opponent's characters with 4k base power or less, which means that even if you reduce something, it won't work because it must be an original power of 4,000.
Yeah.
Which in the form of Lucky Roo, that's a very powerful thing because no one can evade it.
Yeah.
Because most things are 6k. But this, I don't know if there's a 4k that is so hard to kill that you need to do this. You're losing a card to do it as well. And you're establishing a 5k, which doesn't threaten most leaders at this point, and for 4, and you lose the card. Like, you have to pitch it like this is like 3 cost 4k Kobe in black, but like worse. But worse and leader locked. And like this feels like fraud Beckman. This feels like not power scaled Beckman. This is fraud Beckman.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's try to think here, like more of a steelman argument. Like, when would you really want to have this card in hand? Right? Because I'm thinking like maybe at the end if you really want to kill a blocker or something, but why wouldn't you just run
lime juice? You have
Lime
lime juice.
I'm not quite sure. I can't think of a case where I would want this over.
Yeah.
And it's
any
KO.
other card.
It's KO, not trash. It's not even like big Beckman.
Yeah. No, I was so excited when I first saw this because I thought it wasn't base power, and I've been experimenting with like Shanks lists that are like Uchi Shanks, where I'm actually my goal is just to KO everything you play by running like 4 Building Snake, 4 Raise Max, like things like Vista, and I just like can pop a million things and be really annoying. And I was like, oh, this would be like a searchable support, and then I saw it and I was like, this will never see play.
Yeah.
You just like I think even if it was just on play, KO of 4,000 base power or less, it still wouldn't be good.
Yeah.
Without the trash effect. So with the trash effect, it's like, no.
Yeah, whenever I see something like this, I was like, someone at Bandai just get really hurt by like a certain card and was just like, never again. Just like the
7 cost Beckman. Yeah. They were like,
There was like when they made the anti-gecko event that KOs a 8 cost or less warlord. It was, it's like the I hate gecko card. I love it, but like, that's not for a starter deck. But this is a pass for me for this one.
Totally.
Yeah.
That card, it's almost like fan service.
Yeah. If you like Beckman though, that's your card. That's your card.
Yeah.
I would be super happy to be wrong about this and like find some niche situation where it's really important to play it. But
But yeah, overall, I think this deck, if you're buying it, don't expect to be getting a Shanks deck, because I think this, like, even though you get Lucky Roo, which is an amazing card, and you get a lot of the pieces that are used in Shanks really builds heavily around its bombs and its mid game because it's such a mid-rangey flexible deck that I think the Shanks here and the Uta actually don't form enough of the core strategies of Shanks to make this really good. This doesn't have a lot of rush cards. It doesn't have a lot of control cards or like removal cards. That if you're buying this, like I think this is more geared towards people looking for additional support for their Shanks deck more than it is about like, oh, you can buy this and you're ready to play Shanks. Where like, historically Yasopp, Lucky Roo, and these cards actually were not very hard to get. If anything, it's like...
And they still, like, everyone opens so much OP9. Like, these are floating around. You can get the SRs from OP9 for like $2. So like the 10 cost Shanks. So if you're thinking like, oh, I really want to play Shanks, then you have to think about, I wouldn't even really look at this so much. I'd be looking at like, can you get the Rayleighs? Because all of the other pieces are really, really affordable, and you could probably get them for the same price as this starter deck and get 10 cost Shanks. So I think this is definitely a very niche starter deck intended for Shanks players who want, like you said, more options. And I think that's about it. I think a lot of people have been disappointed just looking around Twitter about this starter deck, and I think it is a little bit disappointing, especially for Shanks players. Not that I think that this deck really needed too much, but there doesn't seem to be like a lot of a big reason or a compelling reason to buy it.
Okay, well, here's the next question, I guess. Would you rather get red-haired Shanks or red-nosed Buggy?
I mean, is that even
Buggy,
a question?
So,
Buggy.
this, like like compare. Also, like I'm not sure if you guys saw the memes on Reddit at first, but the Reddit, like someone AI upscaled the art for the Shanks leader, and it looked so derpy and weird. I hope maybe we can pull it up later. But like, someone was like, "Why does his face look so weird?" It's because it was AI upscaled. It wasn't because it was actually. But like, yo, this buggy leader looks fire. Like this looks sick. Like. Everything aside, I am glad that every time a new start comes out, it's a unique new leader art, and this buggy looks sick.
Yeah, it's so good.
In our tier list eventually we'll do like best leader art. Yeah, buggy pretty up there.
Yeah, and I mean, I guess like I was saying last week that I didn't think this deck would be good because I don't think Bandai likes buggy, but I might have to eat my words. This is a pretty good starter deck, and like some of these new support cards, like
to be fair. You did not see this card coming, Crocodile and Mihawk.
Yes, I did not. I really didn't. And it like, in addition to some of the other cards that were released that we were talking about that can help like the early game of Buggy a little bit, then you got this monster of a card. So let's go through it before I talk about it.
Yeah. So on play we've got draw 2, trash 1, then play a cross guild with a cost of 4 or less, which of course you're aiming for the 4 cost that gives an extra cost to make it a 5.
Yeah.
And once per turn, if your cross guild type character would be removed from the field by your opponent's effect, you may instead trash 1 card from your hand.
Incredible.
Yeah. So now you have protection over, like, as you're slowly building this up, they can't just start removing it.
Yeah.
Prevent the strategy.
Like if we could talk about the second effect first, just because like like you said, it's protection, and it's if it would be removed from the field by your opponent's effect. So that's basically everything, right?
Trash.
That's trash.
Bounce,
that's bouncing
spot
it.
deck,
That's
KO.
spot decking it. That's putting it in life.
Oh yeah,
Right.
that too.
So it's basically like the Kuzan in Blackbeard. Like once this is on the field, once per turn, something of yours is going to stick. And Buggy's never really wanting for cards in hand, really.
Yep.
Like you're more than happy to trash a card from your hand to keep one of your 5 costs or 8 costs in this case on the board. Like you're so happy about that. So I think just even that second effect is a huge level up for the Buggy deck.
Yeah.
Then you add the first effect on top of that, where we're getting like a pseudo Moria, and this is a crazy
And cycling too. You get to cycle, draw 2, trash 1, and then you get to play that 4. Like one really thing, I'm just reading this card now. I was like, oh guys, like the second effect, what makes it, I think, to me so interesting is that a lot of characters that have effects like this that are KO or removal protection. Stipulates something about that it itself is not its own effect. But this card protects itself. So even if someone says like, oh, okay, well, I'll remove this first before I go to the other stuff. It's an 8 cost, which is very hard to clear. Like there are very few things that can hit that cost line. It can just protect itself.
Yeah.
So you can't even decide to like, you can't like, oh, I'll just KO this turn and then hit the other thing this turn. You can just like, protect itself too, which is very different than Tashigi, for example. Tashigi 2K.
Yeah.
And like, well, we need a judge. Judge, does this protect multiple characters with one use of the effect, or do you have to pitch like 1 card for each? Because
good question.
That's like Rosinante protects everything.
Right.
But
I do think the way it's written, I do think it's like, if 4 cost Lucci were to try to KO both, it would protect both. Because it's the same effect.
Yeah.
Kaido and Linlin just gets worse every day. Okay, I'm sorry, I'm joking. I'm joking for all the Robin players out there. Sorry, Gabe. Sorry. But like, I'm just like, for those who don't know,
I like that's where your brain goes.
I'm like, sorry, Robin players. Like I know Kaido Linlin, I love the combo. Yeah, I love it. But like, for those who don't know, for cards that have effects like this that protect a character from being removed, if it were to go off and hit multiple characters, one instance of this effect actually protects the whole board, which seems crazy, but you can check the judge ruling, you can check the Bandai rules PDFs, which have a lot of really useful information. This would protect, if there was like a Kaido, that like Dark Hole Kaido, which clears the whole board, this would protect it.
Absolutely wild.
Yeah. And then we're seeing also, in the top effect now, basically by drawing 2 trash one, it's basically replacing itself in your hand, right? So you're not going down in cards. So what we now have is like a potential Buggy high roll, similar to how like GP Luffy high rolls you when they play multiple Sanji puddings, and then they can they draw a card, so their hand size stays big, and then they do things that they want to do. This is the Sanji pudding of Buggy, right? It's literally that. It's like this kind of mid-gamey card that comes down that literally does every single thing that you want for your leader. And you can search this, you can high roll with this, and this is cool. This is so cool. I can't wait to try
And
it.
it just like it gets you that like on the turn, like let's say what was Buggy's ability again in terms of like you can play this, fulfill the condition, and activate leader ability on the same turn, right? So like this not only makes it easier to set up prior to the turn that you use like your big leader ability, like it also is like not only does it make the base number of characters you have on play like better earlier on, it can also be the last piece to fill in those last 2 slots and then just start dropping those 10-drop buggies. Like, ooh, it's
And
great.
I have to remember. So can you cheat this out with the 4 cost?
No. The 4 cost, I believe it was for a 6 cost or less.
Yeah,
6 cost,
Alvita.
right?
Yeah, this one 6 or
Yeah.
less.
Okay, so 6 or less. So that you can't cheat this out. So this one has to come down on your 5 Dawn turn, right?
That's correct. Yeah.
Yeah.
Ooh, 5/7 vanilla. Oh, it's got vanilla stats.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's got vanilla stats. That's so good.
Yeah. So this is crazy. On your 5 Dawn turn, you're gonna play a 5/7, and then you're gonna play the 4-drop, which is actually a 5 cost.
Yep.
The
Both of
fi-
which are protected.
Yeah.
And it replaces itself with the draw 2
Oh,
transform.
man.
And it's a filter.
No, but oh man, like in title subtitles, good thing. Good. It's like a good thing. I'm always happy when this kind of stuff becomes great because I know there's a lot of Buggy players out there who really want to play Buggy because it's such a fun character. People love him in the show and stuff. That like yeah, I'm happy for all the Buggy players out there. And if you have a Buggy alt art leader and stuff, and you've been holding on, you're like, oh, I can't wait to play this. Like you are in luck. And 5/7, such a good stat line. Or because Shanks hates 7Ks. Like you need a reducer like Stage plus Beckman. You always need something with something else to KO this, and it's outside of the Lucky Roo range, where I almost feel like Bandai is forced to make all these 7Ks because they're just like, oh man, 6Ks are too easy to clear now.
Yep.
But yeah, this is on the perfect stat line. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is wild. Like like I'm basically a Lucci main, and whenever cards come out, I always think of from the perspective of like how impactful is it in terms of like staying on the board.
Yeah.
And the thing with this is, you know, I'll wait to confirm, but if it does protect multiple KOs at once, you have to spend resources to KO something and spend resources to KO something else as well.
Yeah.
Which is not that trivial. Even if you have like 10 cost Kuzan, you still need to like drop 2 Brooks.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's an 8 cost to clear this thing. Like it's like it's protected by its own like kind of like this whole cross guild mechanic.
Yeah, though I do believe the wording with the once per turn, it does mean that it will protect the first target.
Yeah.
So you might be able to.
Because Rosinante and Tashigi don't have that stipulation. Oh, okay, that's good. That's good.
The first, like to clarify, it means the first thing that you try to remove this triggers, and if you choose to not trigger it, then you can't just like save it for another.
Yes.
Perfect. Okay,
So-
thanks, Thanks,
yeah.
Judges. Yeah. Okay.
If
Take
you
it
have
back.
like a 1 cost searcher on board, you can just remove that 1 cost searcher. This has to kick in, and then you can do something else.
This is why I haven't written my judges down. Yeah.
Have we talked about the Cabaji?
I don't think so.
Oh, 4 cost 6K blocker.
Basically.
Every day, everyone gets a Borsellino blocker, and I love it. You know, 4 cost 6K blockers.
Yeah.
There's something about it. They're just so good. They're on curve stats. They let you stop like 5K dinky swings like with leader and stuff like that. The fact that this is a 2K is amazing. Like I love they balanced it by not making it so that like it's only on your on opponent's turn, so it's a defensive option. I love 4 cost 6K blockers and on a 2K body. Like this is like really good to me. Like I love flexible cards like this.
Yep, and it gets +1 cost, so it's just another piece of your Buggy puzzle to let you play down the 10-drop. Great card. I mean, when OP9 came out, any Buggy card I bought all torts of. I don't know what was wrong with me at the time. I was just like, you know what? There's just a chance that Buggy will one day be good. So this is making me thrilled.
Yeah.
Max rarity Buggy, let's go.
Yeah.
And of course, the counterpart, Mohji.
Yeah.
So this one also gains blocker, right?
Yep. So if you have 2 or more characters with a base cost of 5 or more, it gains blocker and +1 cost.
Oh, interesting. So let's say you have just this and oh no, it
Cabaji,
wouldn't.
no,
This-
base cost. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cabaji and Mohji can't give each other blocker. When the 2 are together, they're both kind of useless.
Yeah.
They need like Buggy. They need 2 actual truly 5 cost characters out.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Which
I
could
did
be the
not
5
think-
cost versions of themselves, but
Yes.
Yeah.
But it's funny that that's a really interesting stipulation that they won't fulfill each other's conditions. Like if you have just these 2 out, it won't work.
Yeah. Yeah. And then this one also lets you draw, right? If you have 3 or less cards in your hand.
Yeah.
on KO, yeah.
Yeah, on KO. Yeah.
Which is
Very
super good. Because it's a
Yeah.
blocker, you get to control that.
Oh yeah, the fact that it cycles itself and it's a blocker is like that's what good blockers are made of, right? Like things like Lucky Roo and stuff, like free effects on KO. Yeah.
And like it's just crazy. Like these are both 2Ks. So now again, we're just seeing this like rise of 2Ks that are just amazing across all the different colors and different archetypes. Where like this is a 2K that does everything that you want as Buggy. You want to stay alive. You want to be able to protect your life and your board to play a long game. This helps you do that. You want to play 5 costs. This helps you do that. Sometimes you're going to go down in a low hand size to counter or to cheat out bodies. This helps you draw. Like so, it's just we're just seeing 2Ks that make the deck more consistent. Which was something that Buggy was missing. And so, like sleeper pick for sure.
Yeah. The last thing I'll say about this is that I'm really happy about more 2K blockers because for those of you who like, are struggling to fill your deck with 2K sometimes, you might find that, you fill the 2K slots, but then your deck doesn't have blockers. There's a lot of decks that can't run blockers efficiently, like a lot of red aggro decks, which is why that the 2K chopper blocker from OP10 was such a big deal because now suddenly you don't get sacked by like an aggro deck where, at least like worst case scenario, I have a 2K that's also a blocker. That's really good for deck building flexibility because even if you're running a low blocker deck, you don't feel like just destroyed when you meet a deck that, I really need a clutch blocker right now. This fills that.
Yeah, and I mean, it's like what you're getting at too is like a dual purpose where sometimes you need a 2K and sometimes you need a blocker, right? Blockers can stop anything, but there's a lot of ways of removing blockers, right? And so it's just, it creates interesting lines in every deck now where like, do I pitch my 2K here or do I keep it as a blocker? Well, they can remove blockers, but do they have the card? What do I do? Like, I love the flexibility. Yeah. And I think it's just like, we're starting to just see One Piece like get wider.
Expand 2Ks, which is like, that's great. Like, I don't think it's even problematic power creep because like, I don't think decks can afford to run like, we may see shifts, but like, there's an upper limit of how many 2Ks you can reasonably run because these are all still balanced, right?
Yeah, and I like this. It is power creep, but I like this style of power creep rather than, just making giant bombs that end the game
Exactly. What you said, wide rather than tall. Yeah.
Yeah, less oppressive this way.
Yep.
Yeah. Nice.
In fact, Moji's ears, they're not actually a costume. That's actually how his hair grows.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, I really remember this now.
I believe Oda drawed like if you were to grow it out even longer, it would just be like super, super wild.
Yeah. Oh man. Like someone's gonna speculate that like this is the reason why like the announcement they're making is gonna be about unbanning cabaji. Or was it the cabaji? So it works with this.
Oh yeah.
Nah, that won't be it. That won't be it.
That's a whole other discussion.
That's cap. That's cap.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Anyway.
It is nice that this comes with the 10 cost buggy. I was wondering about that because that's the whole game plan, right? That's the whole purpose of getting 5 costs on board. The promo is nice. It is missing the 7 cost croc, which is super, super good. But this is really, really strong out of the package, regardless.
Yeah. I think this, this might be the cheapest deck. Like if you wanted to build a deck and you got Buggy, like the 09 pieces of Buggy are like dirt cheap.
Yeah.
Like they cost nothing. And he doesn't really run much outside of that. You might need like a Red Rock or 2.
Yeah.
But like this deck seems like you could just like you buy the starters and then you get a bunch of cheap 09 singles and you've got a playable good deck that's going to be like this is going to be like Nami prices. Like this might be one of the cheapest viable decks for a long time. I think. Yeah.
I will think that because that Mihawk, that crocodile Mihawk is so good, you may need 2 starter decks. For you guys who don't know, the SRs in a starter deck are 2 of per deck. Meaning if you want to run 4 copies of a card that maybe only 2 of, you will have to get 2 of these decks. So if you want to run 4 of the Buggy SR and 4 of the Crocodile Mihawk that is here in the starter deck, you will have to buy 2 of the starter deck. So just be forewarned.
Yeah, but I think too, like the good news is that hopefully this starter deck will stay around MSRP because Buggy's not so popular. And so you grab 2 of these for hopefully like $30 or $40. You drop probably like $10 on singles. Yeah. And you have a playable deck. Like this could be like a $50, we're talking Canadian, $50, $50, $60 deck. That is totally like you could win a locals with this, no problem. You could go to probably even a big event with this and surprise some people and have a really good time. So I love it. This is so great.
Ooh, Buggy players rejoice.
Yeah.
Buggy is king, always failing up.
Yeah, literally.
It's great. It's great.
It's like
it fits on so many levels.
Oh yeah. So next we got the black purple Luffy. It's always so interesting to me how whenever they have a multicolored leader in these starter decks, like what is this, like 90% purple?
Yep. One black rook card.
I have no idea. Like that's so out there to me because weren't the other multicolored ones? Everything was one color.
Yeah.
Right.
Except for red purple ultimate starter deck. They had, I think, red and purple cards.
Yeah, the
that's
three
true, they did.
captains.
And then I think there was one other that had
true, they did,
hybrids
they did.
too.
Yeah.
One other had hybrids. I forgot what it was though.
No, I'm thinking of the Three Brothers.
Yeah, Three Brothers did not.
Everything was yellow, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
But so they kind of changed their minds on it back and forth. I
But
guess.
having one black.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So-
that's interesting.
Yeah.
We talked
Okay.
about the Luffy, which
Yeah, both SRs I think we've talked about. Both are really good.
and the
Yeah.
Robin.
Or I guess, do we,
I don't think we
do
talked
that in the
about-
pilot episode that we ended up not airing? The unaired pilot.
True. Yeah, let's talk about that.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been a black purple Luffy coper for a while. Our friend Philip in Japan playing it, and it's so much fun. When he was playing here at locals with us when he came back to visit, we loved it. It's so much fun. This deck, honestly, like my favorite part is how much your Dawn just is like elastic. You go from like 10 Dawn, 5 Dawn to 2 to 8 to like you're just constantly bouncing your Dawn amount, and it feels like, what is going on? Is my Dawn supposed to like
Yeah.
change this irregularly the whole
Yeah.
time? And it's so much fun.
Yeah.
I love this new Robin card. I think it's another. It's for those of you who don't know, like Black Purple's Luffy's effect is that if you -2 Dawn, you get 2 back, 1 rested and 1 active. So anything that says -2 realistically is neutral. So all the ways to ramp in Black Purple Luffy are basically cards that let you return 2 Dawn and then let you ramp 1 Dawn. So that way the net amount is -2 plus 3. Which realistically, like, yeah, so you end up being +1. So things like Nico Robin, this new SR one, will actually ramp you because even though you -2, you'll get those back anyway, and then you'll get 1 more as active. So both this Robin and the existing Zoro card, both are 3-cost ramp cards to let you ramp up 1 Dawn really consistently. They're also both Straw Hats, so they're both searchable.
Yeah.
Other than this, the other 3-drop ramp card for Black Purple Luffy is Black Maria, which if you, I won't actually reveal why, but if you read the card carefully and figure out why, Black Maria will actually ramp Black Purple Luffy as well. So now Black Purple Luffy's got 3 or 4 rampers on 3. That's a lot. So that's a lot of consistency, a lot of searchability, and that Robin's a 2K. So it's just like, in terms of support, it is the perfect definition of support. It's a 2K and it's adding to your game plan and giving you that flexibility and consistency.
Exactly. Yeah, I don't have much to add on top of that. I just think like when you're playing Black Purple, it really, when you don't see the Zoro, it kind of feels bad.
Oh,
so it's just, it's really nice that there's just another kind of searchable way to make the deck more consistent.
Yep.
And yeah, it was really fun actually when Philip came and was playing that deck because I'd never played that deck here. Like we don't know anybody who plays the deck. And then he comes from like training in Japan and like Japanese locals, and he's just, the way he's playing the deck is so crazy and unbelievable. I played against him, I was like, what?
What is going on?
What is happening right now? Like he was so good and he knew every matchup like perfectly. Like he knew exactly what he wanted to do. And
he came from the future. He came from the future, came back to school us.
So much fun.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think this is another new card. 2020
Yeah.
Chopper, 3-cost 4K, 1K counter blocker. On play, Dawn -2. You can rest an opponent's Dawn or a character with a cost of 1 or less.
Oh, the I hate Gum Gum Giant card, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, the play this if your opponent leaves up 1 Dawn for Giant card.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think, I mean, the thing is that the problem is that like the deck right now that abuses Giant is Green Purple Luffy. And like when I'm playing, I play GP right now and like I'm more than happy to leave up 3 Dawn or 2 Dawn. Like when I'm playing against Green, you're always leaving up like 3 Dawn in case they Hody.
Yeah.
So the deck, I don't think this is that great. I don't think there's room also. I think it's a pretty tight list.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean,
because it's once again, like what caveat, like we always say, like, yeah, great to go wide, like in terms of like more card flexibility is great. Like if you do find that you hate people leaving up Dawn for like Rad Beam and stuff, you can try it. People can still leave 1 more. What's nice is at least the -2 Dawn is refunded for you for Black Purple. That being said, you only get 1 refund per turn. So odds are, if you're going to stack this with another -2 effect, which you probably will want to do because you don't want to spend the turn only doing this, you probably be playing this on 10 Dawn. So this is probably a turn where later in the game we're trying to turn off some kind of like rest effect or some kind of like event effect, while also setting up a blocker to protect yourself as you kind of scale the game out.
Yeah.
But it's really important for you to save that refund effect for like really big impactful effects. But it's a blocker, so we don't hate that.
Yeah. Well, I also think like this might be something that you run 1 of if you're a competitive player who is going to be playing open decklist top cut, because then your opponent always has to respect it. And you could run this in Purple Luffy, you could even run this in GP Luffy, where as long as you know I have 1, you can't just leave up one Dawn and think you're safe. So it might actually end up fulfilling that role too, and kind of this niche competitive world where you play one-ofs to force your opponent to respect it.
And searchable.
And searchable.
Animals. No, okay. Straw Hat's searchable, but yeah, also animal.
It's like a red purple deck trying to get this
purple
out.
zoo,
red purple zoo.
That's awesome. I think I would have preferred if this was activate main, just to have a bit more pressure there.
Yep.
But
Yeah.
it is what it is. The Franky's also new, right?
Oh yeah, General Franky, let's go.
Yeah, 8 cost 10k, no counter, on play Dawn -2. Of course expected, you may return, etc., etc. Give up to 2 of your opponent's characters -2k power during this turn. It's kind of like that Brook as well.
Yeah, Brook does this. There are 2 Brooks that do similar effects, one on attack, one on play. But yeah, I like this card as flex. I don't think it's going to be that important because there's very little power-based interaction in Black Purple Luffy other than the KO 6k event, and you can't play both. You can play both on the same turn, but usually when you play a card like this at -2 for 2 things, you're really doing it because you want to address the board. Like if you have a wide board and they only have 2 characters, this -2 is very good at just making sure that you clear those 2 things no matter what. But the fact that it's coming down for 8 means that you don't have much Dawn left to swing with other things, like to Dawn them up to swing to clear board. So I would, if you're going to run this, I feel like you'd run the other Brook first and foremost, unless you really care about development to take a body. I still think the card is like not bad. I think it's like potentially you could see niche plays with this if you run a lot of power-based KO effects in your Black Purple Luffy deck. I think it's really cool.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't put it as like the best new card coming up for Black Purple Luffy in this deck.
Yeah, I wish it was -3,000. I think maybe that would make it so that you can just swing into things a little bit better without having the Dawn.
Yeah.
But yeah, just looking at the context of this card, like as a 4-life leader, when you play big things, they really need to have a large effect, or you're just going to die. And if it was compare this to Rayleigh, like Rayleigh's like better in every way. Like if it was -2,000 power during your opponent's turn 2, then it would be really good as a way to stall out.
Yeah.
But as a 4-life leader, you play this, you're probably just going to die. And that is just I think, a big problem.
Oh, if they made this for both turns, that'd be pretty good. But yeah, to your point, Rayleigh just outclasses this in so many ways that I don't think, anytime, like I know this is a purple-black deck or for purple decks, but like, yeah, it's so outclassed by that I don't think this is just overshadowed by the fact that it's only for your turn. So it's only for board clears, really. This is for clearing board and
for like swinging at board, which is just not a black-purple thing.
I guess one note is it's an alternative to 9-drop Rush Luffy. Like for example, if you're playing at home and you can't get 9-drop Rush Luffy, yeah, you can play this.
This is 9-drop Rush Luffy at home?
Yeah, basically, without drawing a card and without Rush. and I'll stop there. I don't want to keep going. But yeah, it's 9-drop Rush Luffy at home. Yeah, which is fine.
I just get mesmerized by the art, first and foremost.
Yeah,
I know.
This is a great card for Franky fans. Like,
yeah.
Definitely.
Mecha fans everywhere.
Have we talked about the Soba mask?
No, we haven't. No.
Okay. 7 cost 9k, no counter. If you have a Sangoro or Sanji character with 7,000 base power or more, give this card in your hand -5 cost, which means you can play it for only 2 cost. Doing the quick math in my head. On play, return all of your Sangoro and Sanji characters to the owner's hand.
I love Transformer cards. I love Transformer cards. I love a card that's like if you visualize this, you have Sanji in play. Yeah. Like the Rush Sanji, 7 cost 7k Rush, you play it, like it's already in play, it swings. And then for 2 Dawn, you play this and it switches out. And no, he's now Soba Mask. Yeah. I love these kind of like fun effects where they're transforming, like just like the Germa. Yeah. But here's what I didn't realize until just this moment. Does this counter Blackbeard? Because you can have 7k Sanji in play, play this, the on-play is negated, so your Sangoro and Sanji stay in play, and you just played a 9k for 2 Dawn. Is this Blackbeard counter material?
So it might be the same with Blackbeard versus Buggy, where they have to always respect that, they can just drop the 10 cost for 5.
Yeah. So I just realized this is like for all the purple Luffy players, or any purple Luffy. This is just so great for everything. Like, oh, Blackbeard translate for on play is great. You're giving me a 2 cost 9k. Ooh.
That would be wild.
That's gonna be so much fun.
I do love. Okay, one thing I didn't like about the King transformer is that you needed to trash it and you need to play from hand, right? So it's like so many resources. I do like that this at least bounces it back to your hand. sort of replaces that, which is very, very nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now it's going to open up some weird lines for Blackbeard players where they're like, they don't pitch on your, or they pitch on your 7 Dawn turn so you can't Luffy Taro, and then they don't pitch on your like 9 Dawn turn so you can't like do that, like play 2 bodies.
Yeah.
And then you play the Luffy Taro. Like it's going to be pretty funny. Like,
Yeah, I didn't think it was, but yeah, this is gonna be so much fun. Like even if you include just like the one of as a punish, like because it's searchable,
Yeah.
you just 1 or 2 of as a punish.
yeah. It's such a cool card.
Yeah, sick art too. I can't wait for like one day. I know Bandai come make the full art.
Yeah.
I guess that's all the unique. Oh, and then obviously SR Luffy, which we didn't talk about because it's an unaired pilot episode. In the, yeah, I love this. I'm playing when attacking Dawn -2. You guys probably heard tons of people from the space talk about this because everyone was going nuts about this. Like -2 Dawns, it refunds, and you become a 7K leader. It's funny because like jokingly power creep. Oh, you know, in the year 2026, every leader is 9K. 9K base power all the time. But yeah, it sets your leader's base power to 7K too. So like there's a lot of things that might care about that, but you are just tankier. And Black Purple Luffy's problem was actually that you needed a way to come back after you stabilize the board. Like being a 4 health leader and being Black Purple Luffy, where you kind of spend a lot of time removing your opponent's board, ramping. It's a lot of cards from hand you're spending on doing those things that you end up having really, you're light on counter.
Yeah.
This lets you kind of mitigate that a bit where going up to 7K means that you're not so worried about losing to like zooed out boards. So I think this is like wonderful support. It gives you that, and it's tankiness that's coming exactly when you need it in Black Purple. When you're like getting to those mid-range turns where like, oh man, they're putting more pressure than I expect. And you know, my hand is still like, I'm still filtering my hand out. This is exactly what it needs. And then from then on, you consistently can activate this to go to that 7K power.
Yep.
I think this is really good. And exactly what Black Purple players were like looking for.
Yeah. And I mean, like there's been murmurings, whispers of this in GP. And there's some merit to running this because if you establish 2 Sanji puddings, you can use your leader effect for free. And so if you establish, like essentially you have 2 Sanji puddings out and then you play this, the game is basically on lock. You're going to stay at the same Dawn every turn, but you're going to make your leader 8K.
Oh.
And so it's actually pretty disgusting.
Damn.
Yeah.
There might be builds where like literally your game plan is to like hit to that refund point where you can get this thing active.
Yeah,
like,
and so you just sit at, let's say, 7 Dawn for the rest of the game, but you make your leader 8K, which means you basically can't die. And that's actually quite good into the blue-purple Luffy because they swing 9. They play 9 cost bodies, and now you can actually just like 2K to get out of that. And you can also like, you can just do bigger swing. Like it's quite interesting. It might actually be a card that changes the meta that we're going to get next set.
Yeah.
In a deck that's already quite good in GP Luffy. Now again, this is that it's always hard to stick 2 Sanji puddings, but it's actually not that hard against blue-purple Luffy. And if they want to get rid of this, they're going to have to red rocket, which you're usually pretty happy if they red rocket, you're kind of like, yeah, that's fine.
They're doing it on a 6 cost, right?
They're doing it on a 6 cost, and your Sanji puddings might stick on the board. So this is something to really pay attention to in that kind of tier 0 matchup that we might be seeing.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Yeah.
And then it's also kind of interesting into the Nami as well, which is like going to be an interesting matchup. I think we'll have a lot of Nami players. And again, Nami has ways of removing this, but it's more a question of like, does this just give GP another line? That's a little bit different, where they actually can just sustain even longer in a deck that already can live forever and sustain forever. Having another way to live forever, it's just like, it's kind of bonkers. So something to just keep your eyes on.
Is that for other multicolor straw hat? It's straw hat. Yeah, other multicolor straw hat leaders. Like for example, if you play Yerpole Robin, then this is also support for you too. If you play, if you're looking towards OP12 and you're looking at the new multicolor Sanji, like this is also playable in that too. So really good generic straw hat support. To your point, what you said about multiple Sanji pudding, one nice balanced part of this card is that you cannot stack them. Because it's saying that your base power becomes 7,000, not that you go up by 2,000. You can't chain multiple of these, which I think is a really good part of it, because it means that people now have to be careful about having too many in their hand and looking for ways to pitch them. Now, of course, if you have Gummin Giant, it doesn't matter, you can just pitch it. But I think this is a really good, thoughtful way to pull the card back too.
Yeah,
right?
totally. It's in the decks that run it, it's probably like a 2 of or a 3 of. In GP, I think it would be a 2 of. But
just for that option, which is really good. No, great card. If you guys are looking to pick up this deck to play at home, the only thing I will note is one of the big core cards in Black Purple Luffy is actually the black Sanji that comes from the I forget the numbers
14.
now. ST14 Sanji, which has a KO effect that synergizes really well with this Luffy leader. And that deck is actually still pretty cheap. So if you're looking to play Black Purple Luffy, if you're playing it at home and you're not getting that other deck, it might be a little harder. But if you already have that deck, then even better. You just mix the two together and you have a pretty playable deck from there too.
Yeah.
If you're looking to play this more at locals, you expect that you will need other support cards because most Purple Luffy decks require quite a few pieces from here and there. So just keep that in mind. It might still be affordable, but be warned, purple cards can get pretty expensive.
Yeah, and it is a great starter if you are somebody who is looking to get into the meta. Like if you want to really start figuring out how these purple decks work with Dawn minusing and increasing Dawn, this is actually one of the more complicated leaders in terms of that. So you're actually kind of starting on a harder difficulty, but it's really good because then when you move over to a purple Luffy or a green purple or blue purple, you'll really start, you'll feel comfortable like minusing Dawn and playing different Dawn totals and ramping and things like that. So I think it's actually, if you want to jump into the meta, but you're like a little bit hesitant, this is actually a good place to start. Of course, you're going to have to invest money in those decks. So don't think you can just buy this and do that. But I think it does offer that kind of like entry point.
Yeah, and say what we will, like at least the nice thing is a lot of like purple does have nice staples, like the 2K Sanji and the Rush Luffy. Like a lot of it is like, and the big moms, if you run it, like they're playable in multiple decks, so you can feel a little better with that. But each their own. Be careful with like how you buy cards and being aware of like ban lists that may happen or just like for reprints that may occur. Just always be careful.
Yeah, like I would say like the green is a safer bet than something like this. Still, from what we've seen so far, like green and blue, those two starter decks are much safer bet. You're not getting a lot of staples in this that you need really just giant in terms of like just like really, really good purple staples. So yeah, I would just, like I said, if you're thinking of getting into like competitive and you want to try purple deck, that's really how I would really think about this. Or if you're like a competitive player who wants those Luffys.
Or if you're just, I bet you like, if you're a Luffy collector and you just need to collect every Luffy leader card, like, there you go, enjoy.
Yeah, and then if you love purple black, of course, this is your jam.
This is gonna be my jam. I'm gonna love this. Yo, first week of locals with these starter decks, I like literally every day every local of that week, I'm playing a different deck, 100%. Like I'm gonna need more sleeves.
It's gonna be so much fun. This is great content. Just quick check-in. We're past the 70-minute mark.
Ooh.
I don't think the cameras are just completely on battery. So if they die, they die. We're just gonna keep jocking. So, all right, let's go through these new cards here.
Yeah.
One cost 1k avalo pizarro. Activate main once per turn. You may rest one of your full lead cards. Right, that's your stage, which means you can't use that stage if you use this. If your leader has Blackbeard Pirates, this character gains plus 4k during this turn, and also on KO you draw a card.
Not great. I think it's just like starter deck filler. I don't know if there's a lot to say here. Again, it does give other options for Teach, which I like. Like there were some cool things you could do with this to be sneaky. But I don't think there's much here. I don't think this is a card that Blackbeard players are like very excited about or planning to add to the deck.
Yeah, the on KO draw is kind of nice if you're trying to put that threat down. But like I think there's just a lot of other cards you would play instead. I think some people said like, oh, it lets you kind of, if anything, Bandai was just trying to give you more like width of like, oh, maybe some people want to try different strategies, but they're going for more aggressive style. And then it could be a too. But yeah, I don't see anything super obvious about how this changes the existing very strong playstyle of Blackbeard. So yeah.
Yeah. Like Blackbeard's list is so tight right now. Like you really, all the pieces just fit together perfectly, and you don't really want to disrupt what's already working. I think with a card like this.
So the biggest question is like, if you have stage, when would you use this effect over using the stage search?
That's very true. And also it doesn't have rush, so like you're playing this, and then all sorts of stuff have to happen before you actually start getting the rewards of this.
Yeah, I suppose if you see like most of your cards already, you can afford to just like swing with this because it's on board and be like, hey, I dare you to swing back, or else I'm just going to keep hitting you with the one cost body.
Yeah, but I feel like you're already very strapped on Dawn as Blackbeard. Like if you're seeing your optimal curve, you're seeing the one drop event to fill your trash. You're playing stage, and like on every turn, it's pretty mapped what you want to do. Like on 4 Dawn, you're going to be playing a Burgess. On 5 Dawn, you're going to be playing a Kuzan, or you're going to be removing things. It's just really hard to fit this in. And also, like as Blackbeard, it is nice to sometimes just swing that 6 to start draining their hand or to put pressure on their life, so that when the teachers come down, you can just swing to end the game. So I think it's just a hard sell in terms of like like I feel like just swinging 6 with that extra Dawn is better, and keeping a card in hand to defend with later or to do other things. Because the other thing is like they might just leave it there forever. And like you get to swing 5 with it, but you don't get to draw, and you just -1. And Blackbeard at the end of the game, you're almost always coming down to 1 or 2 cards. And so like I'd rather deal with 5 swings every turn from this than give you a card, because I'm just going to win.
Yeah, I suppose like with the draw 1 card, that can replace the use of the stage that you know you would be otherwise just avoiding. But it just feels too much of a gamble, right? It's like you don't have a reliable strategy.
And like how many copies do you run? Like when do you play? Like it feels like there's already other things you get to juggle. But yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Catarina, Devon, 2K. Always nice to see a 2K. 1 cost, 1K power activate main. You can trash this character. If you're leader, Blackbeard Pirates, give up to one of your opponent's characters -1 cost during this turn. On KO, draw 1 card.
Yeah. So I'm not a Blackbeard player. You guys are the specialists. I was thinking about how this compares to Stronger, and I didn't realize that this is different than Stronger 2K in a lot of different ways. And it's a 2K, and you always like flex on 2Ks. Yeah.
Yeah. I think this just like replaces the Shiryu one that draws 2 and pitches 2.
Yeah.
Or you just adjust your ratio slightly.
Yeah.
So that maybe you run 2 of this and 2 of that. Since Kuzan came down, I mean, I'm not a pro Blackbeard player. I'd love to know if you're a pro Blackbeard player, how often you play that Shiryu to cycle your hand and how many games it's actually won you. I definitely used to play it more before Kuzan, I think. But I feel like with Kuzan, the consistency of the deck just hit like a new level where I didn't actually find myself really having too many games where it was even worth playing that. And so I would think that I would just run this instead of that cycle Shiryu. But again, I'd love to hear from like a really, really experienced Blackbeard player on how like on that kind of risk reward. Because I do know like there are games sometimes where that Shiryu just saves you. Like you just have a bricky hand.
Yeah.
And that cycle like gets you back in the game and gives you a shot in a game that would be an absolute loss. So
yeah. For the Stronger 2K, do you have to activate main the turn that you play it, or can you save it to use later?
You can save it.
Got it. So these are similar in a lot of ways where like you can play these ahead of time if you feel like you might need cost reduction in the future. But if someone tries to punish you by KOing this when you're setting it up to clear something, then you just draw a card. But to your point, it's good flexibility. But yeah, I haven't seen that Shiryu kind of like pop off as much. But yeah, we definitely need like a Blackbeard specialist. So if you guys have thoughts about this and you're a Blackbeard player who's really good, let us know. We can add it to the footnotes next time.
Yeah, and of course the main difference between this and Stronger as well is that this is -1 cost, Stronger is -2 cost, and Stronger does cycle a card technically.
Yeah. So yeah, and Stronger, like you still lose a card, right? Because you're trashing a card for Stronger effect, and then you kind of draw to replace him, and he's trashing himself, so you're kind of actually losing a card. Whereas with this, you're like it's kind of the same thing without the cycle. But again, if they swing at it, then you haven't lost anything. So there is a world where this is better than Stronger, because very often what you're trying to do is hit like really awkward numbers that you want to pop with like a finger pistol, like notoriously 6 costs. So now you can hit a 6 cost with this, and this is significantly better than playing a Stronger to hit a 6 cost.
Absolutely.
I think. So these are those little things I was talking about before, where it's like these just small changes that might not be the flashiest thing, but in a deck like Blackbeard that's already really, really good, it's these kind of cards that actually really can push the deck up in ways that you might not
to kind of refactor
expect.
the whole deck around like different 2Ks and stuff. Different numbers. Yeah, that's sick. Cool.
Yeah, great card.
Just to jump ahead to this card, Marshall D. Teach, the classic. SR, 7 cost, 8K, no counter, activate main, you may rest this character, KO up to 1 character with a cost of 3 or less, and here's the kicker on KO, add up to 1 black card from your trash to your hand. Since it happens on KO, if this card was KO'd, it would then be in the trash and you can just cycle it back into your hand.
Jack D. Teach.
Yep.
Yeah. So this Devon helps as an extra, option to help with that cost reduction.
Yeah, I mean, the problem with Jack was always that it's not searchable in the deck, and even still, a lot of Blackbeards run it and really like it. And so now having this kind of searchable Jack that honestly, you lose the cost boost, so it can be removed. But again, like I don't actually think you care about that because you get a card from your trash. So I think that's in some ways it's actually better that to not have like an 11 cost and to have that kind of KO effect. For what Blackbeard wants to do, which is to keep a lot of cards in hand and not minus cards. And so this is like better in like every conceivable way, I think, than Jack in Blackbeard, and even in other black decks as well. And so yeah, this is actually just like an insane an insanely good card. And of course, it says you may rest this character KO up to one character, not one of your opponent's characters. So now, when they don't swing at your dot Qs and they don't swing at, in that case, like the Catarina Devon, you can actually now rest this to KO her to draw a card. And that's actually going to matter a lot, I think, because there are a lot of games where people will just leave up the dot Qs. And with this new Catarina Devon, they'll just leave it up. And they can't really do that as a viable strategy anymore. And so it's really, really a powerful kind of mid-game card for Teach.
And there's very few cards that actually reference the ability to KO up to KO both sides. Like I think the only other card is like Kaido Linlin will KO the whole board for both sides. Same with like Kaido, like Dark Hole Kaido. But like this is one of the few cards that will actually allow you to do this. So I think that's important. Like some people may even come up with decks where like their plan is to play this so they can actually remove their own units in multicolor decks. Maybe there's someone who's coming up with it to trigger your own KO effects. The fact that it can recur itself, even like on KO, you can choose this as the black card that you bring back to your hand is really sick. I think it's really cool. To your point, it doesn't have the cost increase from Jack, but it has the added consistency. So it's just like a really good example of, once again, like that going wide of like Bandai was like, oh, let's, instead of making bigger, better bombs, let's just give more different options for decks so they can like continue to be more flexible, creative, and all that stuff. I think it's great. I wish it was just a teensy bit better, but it would be too good if it was, because I was thinking about how it could be support for other black decks. I keep getting people asking me like, is this going to be good in Gecko? And I'm like, I don't know. Like in Gecko, like a lot of the cost increase was the important part of this, important part of Jack, and both of them are unsearchable, so they're neither are like that much better than the other. The adding a black card back to your hand is like, do you really want to plan for this thing to die? Unfortunately, like if you're playing Gecko, like if you're playing a 7-drop, which is a huge kind of like step away from what you're doing usually, you want it to stick. You're not planning for it to die. Like that's why you play Jack, is because it's actually hard to remove it. You need it to live. So yeah, but I'm glad that Blackbeard has this, but I know that there are some Gecko players that are a little sad that it's just not like a little teensy bit better.
Are you sure you're glad? Because I don't know, this is kind of scary. I think this is like because.
I'm glad for that. I'm glad.
For them.
If I was them, I'd be happy. But I'm not glad as a person who doesn't like facing Blackbeard all the time.
And I'll make one final quick point on this, because one of the ways that Blackbeard loses is by people flooding the board before they play their 10 cost. So you play like, oh, let me drop 5 1-drops, or let me drop like a 4 cost, or and like this is a complete counter to that, because if let's say you're going first and you drop this on 7, anything that they play on their 8 on turn, that's like if they're trying to go wide, you can play something else. Let's say like we can play the new Devon to remove a 4-drop, right? And then she's going to sit there on the board, so they have to swing at it, and they can't put the pressure on your life that they want to put down. So it's actually crazy that you can keep this. And again, once you drop the Teach, they also still can't go wide, because you can continue resting this. And then as a final point, one of the win cons for Blackbeard is to have some other big body down on the board before they start slamming the Teaches, so that they can pressure your life. And this card can also just swing at life. So you're in a real bind here, where if you drop multiple characters that are too low cost, they get killed by the Teach. If you play one thing, it gets frozen, and then he swings at your life. So this is pretty frightening, I must say. So it's a cool card. Again, the list is very tight. It's hard to squeeze this in, but I'm sure Blackbeard players will find a way.
You can definitely kill some of the 10 cost Blackbeard, since this can actually bring it back from trash as well.
Yeah, that's true.
Small Easter egg. If you are a big Duel Masters fan, the artist for the new Marshall D. Teach actually drew a ton of Duel Master cards.
Oh. I didn't know that.
Fun fact. All right, jumping into Kuzan, 6 cost 6k, 1k counter. So this is a blocker here, and on KO you can play a Blackbeard Pirates type character card with the cost of 5 or less from your trash rested.
Grave recursion and searching the grave. I'm not a Blackbeard player, but as a person who just knows the power of grave recursion and searchability and consistency in the existing Kuzan already, I think this has to be good, right? Like, I mean, the question is always like, what does it replace? And I don't know, as not a Blackbeard player, but like, I think anytime you just give access to like grave recursion, there's always a chance you can find a way to make use of it.
Well, I think because the deck already has such good grave recursion with the other Kuzan, I think like, I don't think this is a 4 of, but I think there's and I think same thing with the new Teach. Like these are going to be like 2 ofs or 3 ofs or even 1 of. Like they're just going to be, I think, just again making the deck wider. And I'm not sure about this card, because I'm not sure what it replaces. But I'm kind of like envisioning a world where like you might even start cutting things like Lafitte because actually you really don't want, like, you actually don't want to play Lafitte. There's actually better options. Like your ideal play as a Blackbeard player is actually stage into New Era. And so like you could cut Lafitte's. I've seen people running 3 of the 10 cost teach as well to start making room for some of these other, like, so I think you're going to see like just some interesting deck building happening here, as well as maybe cutting cards from like Black Hole. I don't know. We have to see how it all shapes up.
Yeah.
Liberation as well. Like, so there's yeah, it's going to be really fun to see how all the layers fall in kind of these finalized teach lists. And then this just added flexibility is going to make the deck really scary. Like teach players are coming out of this happy, I think.
Yeah. That thing's gonna KO and then pop a Burgess out sideways, and I'll be like, they have lethal next turn.
Yeah.
Dangerous. And last one here, we got Sanjuan Wolf, 4 cost 6k,
He looks
1k
so
counter.
peaceful.
Yep. Basically, if your leader locked to Blackbeard, it becomes a blocker and also gains +1 cost for every 4 cards in trash, just like Burgess, making it harder to remove. On play, trash 1 card from your hand, which of course doesn't apply if you're playing the Blackbeard leader.
Yeah, again, this is something that I think, I don't think this one's that great. But there's a world where you run 1 or 2 for certain matchups. Again, if the meta dictates that you need it. Like, that's what's kind of scary, is like we're just seeing Blackbeard now being able to adapt to like multiple metas and multiple things that could kill it with all the options that it's getting. So I'm not quite seeing a place for it in the current meta. I still haven't tested it, and I don't know until you really test. But it's just, again, it's giving options that are quite scary.
4/6 blocker. You'll hear me talk about it. Borsalinos and for everyone.
Yeah, I mean, like, in a vacuum, 4/6 blocker with 1 gate counter, like, it's a vanilla that has blocker that has added removal protection.
Yeah.
Right? But of course, what does it replace in the actual deck?
Yeah, like you're playing Burgess instead of this almost every time. So it's really hard, and like it has the same weaknesses as Burgess, that it will be removed by the same kinds of things that Burgess gets removed from, except Burgess can't be KO'd. So I think I would be playing Burgess over this.
Yeah. I think to like wrap up, I think you had really interesting thoughts about kind of like how this deck fits for like if you're an at-home player or if you're like, looking to get in the competitive scene, how this deck kind of fills out for you. I think you had some interesting thoughts you brought up.
Yeah, well, I think like this is I was surprised they made this starter deck, to be honest, because I think that like Teach is a very complex leader. It's very tricky to play, and it's really not great for a new player. Like if you were starting out the game, you would not want to give somebody this deck because they don't even know what on-plays are. Like it's a very technical, complicated deck. So I think if you're buying this deck and you're someone who's like just getting into the game, or you're someone who plays casually, I might stay away from it unless you really want to start branching into competitive, because you're going to face this deck, or you might even want to play it yourself, or you're the type of person who likes like mini game decks where you're kind of doing your own thing. I know styles of TCG players who love that. They're like, I don't want to play everyone else's game of like adding Dawn and like worrying about like I want to play my own like little Tetrisy or
my
solitaire
own little mini game. You're out here just like making your
let me stack all these pieces together, and then
you're building your card tower, and you're like, come on.
Yeah. So if you're that kind of player, this deck is really for you. But if you're looking to get like 2 decks to start playing with a friend or something like that, I would stay away from this, because it's actually part of what the whole like Blackbeard's whole thing is he makes the game not fun for the opponent. And so if you're starting out the game, you really probably don't want to play against a deck that's not fun to play against. So I would stay away from this if you want to have fun with the person you're playing with. But if you don't and you want to torture them, then I think like starting off with Teach is a great place. And I know there's both types of players out there. So.
Yeah, no fun for you. That being said, I think Teach is, because of this deck, Teach will be decently affordable. You'll be able to get a lot of your pieces all at once. And I think Teach SRs are not that expensive except for the Kuzan and Finger Pistol. And if you choose to run it, Laboon. But otherwise, Teach is actually a very affordable deck to build. So if you are trying to get competitive and do it with like a low commitment initially, this will be not bad for you to pick up 2 and then just pick up SR Blackbeards and some Kuzans. You could probably end up building the whole thing for like maybe $100 or less.
Yeah, I think so. It's definitely like on the budgety side for sure of one-piece decks. And yeah, great deck to go to locals with. Great deck to go to a big tournament with. You'll have to put some work in. You'll have to like, and so it's again, it's like if you're playing at home, you're not like you won't be prepared playing at home to play this deck in a group setting. So just keep that in mind. Like if you go to a locals, like you're probably going to have a hard time at first because you have to know how to play into every single deck that's out there. That's the whole point about this. It's like the ultimate kind of control deck in that sense, where usually as a control player, you really have to know what every other deck does perfectly. And for Teach, you really do need to know that. I struggle with this deck, and I play so many decks, and I still struggle when I play this deck against just all these different decks, knowing what to do on a given turn.
What do I pitch? What do I do?
Yeah, so keep that in mind. But again, like this is just great if you really want to like start playing competitively. You're like let me get me in the game. I know I know what I want to do. I've played other TCGs, and I want to play something that like it's kind of like a Yu-Gi-Oh deck. It's like it's like there's a lot going on. Like you got like lots of effects. You're cycling. You're looking through your whole deck. You're seeing your whole deck every game. So it's definitely a niche for those types of players.
But when you win, be nice, because that person is mad because they didn't get on plays all game.
Yes.
Okay?
Yeah.
They
didn't get to do what they want to do for the whole game.
So be nice when you win. All right, we got our last starter deck.
Yep, this one is Yamato. So we talked about the first SR with the Searcher, but then this one came out.
Yeah.
Oh, Momo. Oh, so good.
Yeah.
This Momo is so good.
Yeah.
It's a 6 cost 7k, no counter. Your turn. If you have 2 or less life cards, your leader gains 10,000 power. That's only for your turn. So when you're swinging, the activate main of this card is that you may return 2 of your total currently given Dawn cards to your cost area rested. Then this Momo will gain Rush and 1,000 power for this turn. So that means that this is basically a 6 cost 8k Rush Momo. That's what it does. And the only thing you have to do is unattach 2 Dawn that are currently attached. Now, an important caveat of this effect is also that not only can you do it and give it Rush the first turn you play it, you can actually keep doing this effect each turn to keep giving it that additional 1k power, so it keeps swinging for 6/8 each turn. But do note that it doesn't keep the 1k for your opponent's turn, so it won't stay that extra power. Another thing that I thought was important about this card is if you're playing Yamato, sometimes if you're doing something, let's say you're doing an alpha strike turn. You're going for lethal, and you're not playing anything. You're not playing a Hody. You're not playing any new characters or events. You actually have no rested Dawn to actually attach with leader ability.
Yeah.
Because if you're attaching all your Dawn to characters, you can't actually use your leader ability on those given Dawn.
Yeah.
Which means this Momo lets you then unattach 2 Dawn that you've attached and then attach it again with Yamato ability.
Yeah.
So there's this kind of like really interesting flexibility effect of this Momo, where not only are you getting this additional rush power, not only getting this additional 1k power on your swing, you're also getting this other thing, which is that on those turns you're doing these alpha strikes, you always can still use leader ability for that additional 2, which I've had be a problem for some Yamatos before, where because they assigned all their Dawn, they actually can't use leader ability because there's no rested Dawn at all to attach.
Yep. Yeah, it is like one of those kind of finisher cards. It's kind of like sometimes Hody, where like with a leader like Yamato, when you're actually going for a game, you kind of actually want something to use Dawn for that helps you win the game. Like that's not just wasted Dawn, so that you can use your leader effect. And so this kind of does that.
Yep.
And like I'd have to think about it, but because you're making your leader 1k and you're swinging with a 6/8, I think it's like super Dawn efficient as well compared to just doing, like, let's say you're just doing like big swings for when like you're trying to do lethal math, maybe you have 2 characters. I think it's one of those situations, it's kind of like Dragon in Shanks, where it's like based on the cost of the character and then what it lets you do with your Dawn, it ends up being quite Dawn efficient to use.
No, that's 100%, because like Dragon's an 8/11, this is a 6/9. So just like Dragon, you're getting basically 3 over. Yeah. So it's similar to Dragon, and then you're activating leader ability, which you may not have an opportunity to do so. So this is functionally very similar to Dragon. Yeah. But for Green Yellow Yamato. That's a really good like parallel.
Yeah.
Reusing that extra 2 on every turn is actually wild.
Yeah.
This feels like more of a green card than a yellow card.
It does. Yep. Yeah.
I think the only other new card that was shown is we talked about the Ashura Doji, I think.
That's right.
3 cost 3k, 1k counter, and on play. There's some stipulation here. I need to pull it up here, but
it's
you
like
can KO a 5 cost.
It's 3 or more life in order to use this. So you can only use this in the early game state to control the board. I do not think it's a late game finisher.
Yeah.
I think if it was 3 or less, it'd actually be a finisher card, but I think they want to stem away from that. They want to basically have this be a card that helps you control early game if you're playing a late game fortress build.
Yes. Yeah. I think you've nailed it. That's kind of what this card is for. I don't think it'll be played in like non-Fortress Yamato. But yeah, in Fortress, I think it's a very interesting card for sure.
Yeah, and then the last one was just good old Kinemon. He's just a 4-cost 5K, 2K counter, and it basically has a play trigger. So if your leader is land of monotype and your opponent has 3 or less life cards, play this card. So it's just a lot of Yamatos were running Kawamatsus and Inurashis and things like that because they just wanted a card that would play off leader ability or play off the reduced life, off trigger, and then use it with leader ability to kind of go for lethals to punish people for kind of swinging at you. This is just doing that same thing, but on a 2K. So it's not even a wasted slot because you have to have enough 2Ks in your deck anyway. So I think, this basically replaces a lot of Kawamatsus and Inurashis and Nekomamushis in people's deck lists because this is kind of what you want, which is just a trigger that plays itself. And a 2K, so it's not even it's a useful use of that slot. It's
so good. Yeah, I think one of the problems that Yamatos typically have, especially if you're doing the rush build, is like sometimes you just die. Because you actually, a lot of the builds don't play that much counter. You don't actually have ways of like drawing cards. Like you don't have draw power. You don't have you're really just going and trying to kill them. And so like just having this a little bit more flexibility, this is actually really scary because it just means that in a deck like Yamato, they have a great trigger. B, they have more counter. That deck's always been just borderline, it's always hovering there, and it's these little changes that make it really scary when you're sitting in front of it in a big tournament.
This deck is gonna be great for people who love playing green yellow Yamato. I think even if all of the cards are Wano typed, I think realistically this is mostly gonna be green yellow support. Whether that's playable out of deck, I'm actually not sure. It has definitely some really good trigger cards. It definitely has a lot of that trigger power. I actually don't know what Yamato builds are going to look like in in OP 11 for us. So I can't really fully tell. But I guess, well, you guys can wait for next time. We're going to have a nice little tier list video about what we think of each starter deck, whether or not you should buy it, what each starter deck is good for, whether that's like what's the best ones to play at home, which ones are the best ones to build from for competitive, which ones are a good mid-range deck for you to maybe play at home and then one day maybe bring to locals, but we'll have that tier list for you guys next time. But I cannot place Yamato right now because I think all the cards are really great, but I can't tell if it's a card, what the builds will look like. So if it's really something that you can play at locals out of the box. But I know a lot of people are huge fans of Yamato. So you may just get this because you're just a huge fan of Yamato.
And I do think what's funny is I've faced quite a few actually over the weekend at Anime North. I faced one, but also just previously, like thinking back at locals, like I faced quite a few newer players who actually they started playing Yamato as like a deck to play. I don't know how that really happened, but one of the good things about Yamato is you can show up to locals and you can just win if you have a good day with it. It's kind of like Katakuri or Enel in that sense. And so it is actually a fun deck to start off with. If it's not too expensive to build. You can really just show up to a locals, and it's like the type of deck kind of like Teach, but in a different way, where you're kind of playing your own game. And because this deck hasn't been in the meta, it might be back now, but for a long time it hasn't. People actually have forgotten how to play against this double attack leader, right? And so you're playing this different game, and for you, your game plan is actually very, very straightforward, and they're the ones scrambling every turn, like,
swing face.
What do I do? Like, Hodi's coming, and then they might have like an Izo to rest my blocker, and I don't have enough 2Ks to like, whereas you're just like, I'll swing 9.
And they're just like,
I'm dying. Play Hodi.
why am I at 2 life? Why am I at 1 life? We've all been sacked by Yamato before, so we all know the fear of it. Yeah, like it's a rite of passage to be sacked by Yamato. And it doesn't matter how pro of a player you are, you've been sacked by Yamato.
And, and I do think like there are some cool things you can learn from this deck. So one of the things we'll probably talk about more is like how every deck has lessons that it can teach you. And so I think when you're picking a deck, it's good to like think about what the lessons are. And I do think this deck actually has some really great lessons to learn. So it is a interesting starting point. I wouldn't say for a brand new player for TCGs, but if you're someone who plays TCGs and you kind of you want to get into the game and you're like an aggro style, there's some great lessons to learn from this deck about how to swing for lethal, like having patience about when to use things like Onami for banish, and so it does have some good lessons, I think, and I do think this is actually a good starting point, a good entry point, and I think it was a good choice to make Yamato a starter deck. Yeah,
so super excited about this one. I know a lot of people are. But
I was gonna say, sorry, just it's also similar to Teach, where like if you don't like your friends,
buy
the starter deck. But if you want to have fun games with your friends, I might stay away from it. But I will say, if you are buying multiple starter decks, pick this one up, because
Yes.
this will make for some fun games. But it's just like, if you're gonna just buy 2 starter decks and you're like, let's play One Piece every night, you're gonna get tired of this really, really fast. I think from both sides. But it's definitely like, if you're buying multiple, grab this one too, because it's gonna be fun. You're gonna have fun with this.
Yeah. You don't want to be playing with your wife or girlfriend or boyfriend, and then you're just like swinging these double attacks, and they're just like, I hate this. Oh. And then it becomes a whole fight. So don't do that if you care about your relationship.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, with that, I think that rounds out our starter deck reveals. But yeah, look forward to, we'll have another video about just like going through what we think is good to buy and for what reasons for those at home. But yeah, that's it for starter deck reveals. I think we only had 2 more things we want to talk about. One, and you guys might not know this, but we want to make this news. Let's just share the news again. June 12th, I forgot what time in Japan, but it'll be 7 a.m. EST. June 12th, Bandai will be making an official announcement. Now, it just so happens that announcement coincides a day before the legal release date, or for the playability of OP11. Now, we will say that sometimes, and many times historically, these announcements that coincide with release dates have something to do with bans. Now, there has been no confirmation that these announcements have anything to do with bans. It could be about a new booster box. It could be about a new product of some sort. But there will be some kind of announcement that comes out on the 12th, which may or may not have some shakeup for the meta. So do keep that in mind. June 12th, 7 a.m. EST, there will be a Bandai announcement. And I'm sure everywhere you'll see some news about it, but be, I guess, not warned, be excited that Bandai has something to tell us on the 12th.
Yeah, and I think we'll probably maybe save it for next week, but we have some ideas about what
it might be.
What it might be. So stay tuned, because actually we have a lot of ideas about that. At least I do. And so I think that'll be a fun discussion.
Yeah.
But it's something to keep on your mind when you're just thinking about like what you're going to play next set or what starter deck to buy. We really don't know exactly what it's going to look like. And so in Japan, they've really been complaining about their current meta a lot, and so it seems like there's grounds to make some changes and to actually introduce a ban list. But we are getting the starter decks, which are going to change the meta already. So it's kind of an interesting time, but it's something like just to keep in the back of your mind. Yeah. And just think about it before you decide what to buy or like really finalize what to play. Like if you're like, oh, I'm going to buy a bunch of singles right now for the deck that I think is going to be good, I might just wait a little bit. Wait for the announcement before you do that.
Yeah, always good to exercise caution. But with that, I think we wrap up the episode for today, right?
Yeah.
We've been going quite some time, and I don't even know if the camera's still running, but if you can still see me, thank you.
It should still be running.
But yeah, we'll wrap up the episode for today. I know we want to cover some stuff around Anime North, but we'll save that for next time for fun stories. But for you guys who didn't know, we had a wonderful weekend at Anime North just this past weekend. It was so much fun. If you guys came and visited the booth, we are so thankful for you guys coming by. It was actually so much fun. We got to host not only just like meeting people and talking to them, but we were hosting gym battles so people could come to the booth and try to face one of us and win prizes. We're definitely doing that again for next Anime North 2. We are so excited to get a bigger booth and just run these gym battles so you can come and try to win prizes from us. But yeah, it was so lovely meeting so many of you and all the support that you provide us and just like the ways you are just so excited to see the things that we're making. So thank you if you came to Anime North, and if you didn't, still thank you, and we would love to see you next time. And on that note, if you have an anime convention or some kind of nerd expo or nerd convention that is popular in your area, please let us know. We love doing Anime North, and it was the first time doing something like that. So we are definitely interested in doing more of that. So if you'd like us to bring our store to you and your area, no matter where it is in the world, just let us know what's popular in your area, and we would love to drop by.
For reference, we are Canadian and we're based in Toronto, but literally wherever you are in the world, we will always consider it.
Yes. Yeah, some people are surprised when they say we're Canadian. It's like, oh, what? When we posted like the no-name brand interview, it's like, wait, they're Canadian? I was like, yeah, bud.
We're repping Toronto, the Toronto One Piece scene. 100%.
With that, I guess we can say goodbye to everyone, but any last thoughts for you guys?
Giveaway?
Oh, we have a giveaway from last time. We are going to extend that and have it going this week too, and Kobe in post. But this time, when I post the new episode on Twitter, just reply to that thread with your submission, and you'll be entered into the contest. And I will mention it again on Twitter as well. But if that's all, folks.
Yeah, I think that's it for now.
Right. Well, guys, thank you so much for joining us. We had so much fun making this, as we always do. Like, more than about the views, about anything else, we actually just like making this because we like each other's company. And if you like it too, please let us know. If there's something you want to change, please let us know too. Like I said, we just like sharing this room and this space with other One Piece fans and other people who love the card game. And that's what's really important to us more than anything else, is being able to share that space and that kind of like togetherness that we have. So I guess with that, it's Jeremy, Patrick, and Kobe signing off. Take care, guys. Have
See you
a good
next
night.
time.
Bye.